The National Assembly opened this week with a throne speech. Not surprisingly, identity politics was front and center. There was talk of reducing the number of immigrants, creating a more secular society. Tom Mulcair joins us now. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Mitsumi. Great to be with you.
So, Tom, you're calling what the CAQ government is doing an assault on human rights, the PQ fueling that as well.
Yes, and it's also scapegoating. And what's been fascinating, Mitsumi, is in the past couple of days, so many divergent voices have come together to start denouncing the CAC and its politics of attacking minorities, of scapegoating, especially religious minorities, as a way of avoiding to talk about their record. Now, complicit in this has been the Liberals, both federally and provincially. Carney said he was only going to attack small procedural aspects of Bill 21, whether or not you could use the notwithstanding clause in this way or that way, not even going whole hog on the issue of rights. Whereas during the election campaign, Prime Minister Carney said the Liberal Party is the party of rights. Even worse has been, of course, Pablo Rodriguez, the head of the provincial Liberals, because he said recently, as far as he's concerned, Bill 21, which it should be borne in mind, discriminates openly against religious minorities, especially Muslims, Jews, and Sikhs, because of, if you're wearing a kippah or a turban, it's horrible. And it's been something that nobody expected to see at this level. But in the past couple of days, so many voices have come together to say that this is not on in Quebec, and these are people who have often supported Bill 101 Bill 21, and supported François Legault. So it's been good to see, but there's still a lot of work to be done to remove this tendency to pick on minorities.
Because, as you say, even though we are seeing some pushback on this, when the governments, as you noted, the CAQ and the federal government and the political parties, if they are not coming to the defense of minority rights, what are the minority groups to do?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what's so disappointing with the Liberals, is because they talk a good game on rights. And then, as I say, Rodriguez says that Bill 21 is good for social peace. There have been a couple of recent outrages. The CAC has gone so far as to say all face coverings, not just what was already provided in Bill 21. The Parti Québécois, not to be outdone, wants to go after children in elementary schools, saying what they can and can't wear in terms of identity of their religion, whether it be a kippah, a turban, patka, for example, or a headscarf. But you notice in there that if you're wearing a crucifix, that's going to be kind of okay. It's almost as if this so-called, tendency to secularism and getting government out of the business of religion, that applies to all minority religions, but not to the main religion here in Quebec. And so people have started to notice that. The other thing, too, Legault has decided that his other theme is going to be law and order, and he lumps in what he calls radical Islam. And, unfortunately, there are not a lot of people who make the distinction between the Islamic religion simply and what Legault is talking about. But what did we see yesterday? A shooting in a Starbucks. We found out from the Prosecutors Association that 50 prosecutors have not been replaced. Today, the Bar Association went after the CAC government, saying 135 fewer people now work in the justice system, and it is cracking. So they always try to avoid having a spotlight put on what they're doing, like cutting in a key area like public safety and fighting crime and dealing with criminals. And they don't want people to talk about schools. They don't want them to talk about the lousy healthcare system. So let's start attacking minorities. Maybe we can get some votes that way. That's the lowest common denominator, Mitsumi, and we're so tired of seeing it.
Which brings me to the NDP. Your former party, Tom.
Yeah.
The NDP was always known to come to the defense of the minorities.
Yes.
And they're just not on the landscape anymore. I mean, they are trying to find a new leader right now. Do you think this is an opening for them?
It could have been, but they're a little bit like the Conservatives. They're so terrified of Quebec and they don't understand Quebec, they're just not going to touch it. They do have one member, Alexandre Boulris, and clearly the signal has been, don't touch this stuff with a 10-foot pole. But that gets them nowhere. They've dropped off the map in Quebec, other than Alexandre, who, because he's the guy in that riding, he'll get in as long as he wants to run. But overall, the NDP, talking about minority rights, the strident anti-Israel tone, they'll say, oh, it's not that we're anti-Semitic, it's because we're anti-Israel, we're against what Israel is doing. Well, guess what? They're, again, there's very little difference between saying you're anti-Zionist and saying that you're anti-Semitic in the mouths of some of the people saying that. And one of the key, well, a couple of the people who are running are very strong on that issue in the sense of attacking Israel. And I think that that's not the type of thing, I know that neither Jack Layton nor I would have ever tolerated that. It was not part of our program. It's not what we got elected on. And it's not what they got elected on either. So we'll see whether that fringe of the party dominates. And if they do, I think they're just going to get wiped off the map.
Okay. Thank you very much for this, Tom. Interesting as always.
Great to be with you, Mitsumi. All the best.